Oh, we're live.
Well, welcome back, everybody, to Chat with Will Grant. And you know what? This is a special day for two reasons. Number one, it is Will Grant's, 17th birthday?
No,
17 today?
28 on this one.
Congratulations. Happy
Oh, you're 28 today.
Yep, 28.
My birthday, dude.
day. And also, we have Andrew Dettelbach with us from MoveU.com. The MoveU shirtless dude, of course, had to start off shirtless, and I guarantee you within, probably 7.5 minutes, the Will Grant will be too. But don't worry, your host, Ed Adams, will not. So anyway, welcome to Chat with Will Grant, everybody. If you've never been with us before, remember this is a Zoom live webinar. So please interact with us with the Q&A feature down below. Ask as many questions as you can because we are lucky to have two specialists with us today. Well, three, yeah, granted, but two that you came here to listen to. So I'm going to punt it to Will Grant because not only is it his birthday, but he's leading the conversation today. So Will, have at it, my brother.
Thanks so much, man. I'm really excited to be here, and I'm really excited to introduce you guys to Andrew. If you don't know already, I mean, him and his work has been really instrumental in my life and helping me so much just get out of pain. There was not too long ago, it was 3 or 4 years old, where I was a 25-year-old professional athlete with my career just dwindling away because of all the body pains I had from my knee, my ankle, my back, where I wasn't even sleeping at night. I couldn't recover. I was just struggling with so much pain. And then it wasn't until my roommate showed me the work of Andrew and his partner Mike of MoveU, to where everything just kind of opened up for me to realize that, the pain in my body is caused by how I'm moving and using my body and my posture and all these things. So I'm really excited because I know so many people around the world are struggling with pain, struggling with disc issues, shoulder impingement, knee pain, and it's something that holds us back, that limits us from being our best selves and to contributing at our most. And yeah, I'm really excited to introduce you guys to Andrew. Andrew, say hello and introduce yourself.
How's it going, everybody? I am a co-founder of MoveU. We actually started as a chiropractic clinic, and I was actually the assistant for Mike Wasnt. And we started to do some social media to try to bring people to our clinic, which worked, but the social media started to take off, and we kind of thought, how can we service so many people around the world? Because right now we were only really servicing the people in Carlsbad, California, and having people travel from Northern California, some people from Texas. We had people fly in from other countries to come work with us. And it was just unreasonable because we knew that the work that we would do with those people in just a few hours would not help them. It would we'd give them a little bit of a boost and some encouragement, but it really comes down to the work that you have to put in for many weeks, months, or years to actually make a change with whatever you want to do with your life, whether it's your body, a business, your mindset. It's going to take time. So we started to create an online program, and that became MoveU. And now we have 1.2 million followers, and we're growing substantially, and we have a huge following in our community. We have 13,000 members, I believe, maybe 12,000. And I'm looking at Katie over here. She's our other beast. And
you can introduce Katie too if you want. Yeah,
Katie she's got the title of brand manager. Come here, Katie, stand. She has the title of brand manager, but that doesn't really say what she does for us. She does all of our female content. So she has had several of her own issues in terms of prolapse and basically reconstructive surgery for the pelvic floor. So she's experienced a lot of issues that many women and men as well that may not notice also have. And she also leads most of our writing. She's incredibly intelligent. She's challenged me on a lot of things that I have put out to the world in terms of movement and mindset as well.
Always good.
So she's led the ropes. Am I going in the right direction here?
Yeah, 100%, man. 100%. Go ahead.
So we created MoveU. We've got a ton of members in there, and I think we're going to talk about the things that we're working on currently. And I'll let you lead that
Yeah,
path.
before we get to what you're currently working on, I kind of want to know what got you started in this, because you seem very connected with this. I know that you've had a pretty serious injury in the past. Like, what makes you connected with getting people out of pain and servicing people in that way?
So I went to school for kinesiology, and I was planning to go to PT school or even PA school. And I started to work with Mike right when I was graduating, and he was really a proponent of not going the PT route, because in the United States it's a massive loan. I mean, he's got a huge loan, and it would have been about $220,000 that I would have a loan for just to get my PT schooling and come out and be able to make 65,000 right off the bat. It's not a lot of money to pay off that loan. You're going to be stuck with this thing over your head for quite a while. So he was always interested in getting other people to explore other options and not feel like they have to go to PT school, maybe looking into other business routes. And that's ultimately what we started to do. But when I first met him, I actually had injured my back a little bit. I kind of bulged my discs. I was laying in bed in my last semester of finals, and I was like up against the wall, kind of rounded. If you can imagine, your body's just like this. And I had a gnarly chest cold, kind of like all this stuff that's going on right now. I grew up with asthma, so any sickness I get goes right to my chest, and I cough super hard. And I do that for weeks at a time. And I was laying there, and I coughed really hard and felt a pop in my back. And that moment was really it became this cascade effect for another year down the line, where things just started to get worse and worse and worse. And eventually I had sciatica down both legs, and I had imaging done. I had a 10 millimeter herniation down my left side of my L4, L5, and an 8 millimeter bulge to the right. And I was told by many surgeons I needed to have surgery. And my uncle, he's had 6 back surgeries, and he still needs more. So I knew from his experience that when you go the surgical route, you may get stuck in that system and just continue to get surgeries. And that's been the case for a lot of people in our program as well.
Yeah.
And
as well, that's how I found it. That's how I actually found you guys.
Yeah.
I was just having surgery after surgery and procedure after procedure where I wasn't getting the results. I was still in pain. I went from everything from microfracture surgeries to even stem cells. And I didn't really feel or notice any real results of getting better. I actually felt like I was getting more pain until I just said, you know what? I've learned so much through their social media. I'm just going to drop down and just get this course and really commit to it. And then, for the first week or so, my knee actually got a little bit more sore, but then I started gaining all of this extra awareness from my movement throughout the day. And then that's when I started to really feel the real result.
Exactly. And I'll talk about why that is the case for the people in the program, why that helps, the process of the program, why that helps. I talk about this one injury that I had, my lower back, but I've actually injured pretty much everything in my body. I've had impingements in my shoulders, both hips. I've had meniscus issues in my knees. I've had all kinds of issues with my toes and my feet. And a lot of that can stem from my connective tissue disorder that I was labeled with, which is pretty true. I mean, not many people can do weird things with their shoulders. And, here, let me take this. This will be fun for the viewers to see. There you go.
Yeah, that's impressive. I'm far from that, but I've been working on it.
I don't feel anything. I don't feel any stretch with either of these things. And that's what's different from most people. And that's the connective tissue laxity that I have. That actually, even though I have some crazy range of motion, so I haven't warmed up at all today. That's just got out of bed. I have crazy shoulder flexion. The result of having too much flexibility is often more injuries. So I've injured everything. And I've had chronic pain from the time I was 5 years old. Up until recently, I've really mitigated it. But that's what got me interested in understanding how can I reduce the intensity of people's chronic pain and just acute pains in general, and teach people how to control it. And that's the process that I went through while I started working with Mike, was exploring how my body moves and how everything's connected together, and just building my confidence, understanding what the hell I'm doing when I'm moving around. And we instill that in other people, and the same thing happens. They build this confidence, this understanding, and they have control of their issue.
And that was one of the first things that I noticed too, is all of a sudden I had confidence of the control that I had. Because, when I was 25, I remember, driving home from the doctor telling me I was never going to be able to walk again without pain. I was so scared that I was just out of control over the way that I was going to feel, where I felt like I didn't have control if I was going to be in pain or not, and that it was all up to fate, or it was up to these doctors to fix. And then it took to the point where I started, meeting you guys, not in person, but just through watching your content, to realize like, oh, wow, the power is within myself. I can control, for the most part, by the way I feel, based on how I'm moving and how I'm using my body.
Yeah. And I'm sure that most people that are watching, they've been to the doctor and they tell you things that are just scary. Like they
almost give you
the diagnosis that they give you
that makes it more likely to happen.
And a lot of times I think that the diagnosis that they give you is ultimately just them trying to flex their knowledge. Like, oh, guess what? I figured out that you've got this thing. But it doesn't help you. Like, knowing that you have this rotator cuff tear and just saying, well, you got to rest it. You got to take these medications. I don't know, wear a sling. Oh, you might need to have surgery. They might need to reattach some things. But that isn't ultimately addressing the underlying issue that caused it in the first place.
Yep, exactly. And that's what
that's just our current medical system.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. It seems like the medical industry of today goes about pain and health just backwards. Like they're treating the symptoms instead of the root cause, which is stuff that we've all heard probably a million times. And that was one of the most beautiful things I noticed about the MoveU, is it was almost like the first real thing that was really helping people's root problems and root causes of their issues, instead of just working on my symptoms. Like, so instead of just, okay, I have this knee pain, that I could foam roll it and make it feel better for the next 10 minutes, or I can learn that my knee was overworking because my glutes weren't engaging. And then the more that I could engage my glutes and the less pressure was put on my knee, and my knee started feeling a little bit better every day, that the stronger my glutes got, because I started understanding that, okay, that the problem that this knee issue first started off was that my glutes weren't turning on, and then all the top physical therapists, to everything that I was learning that was really helping me from your program, seemed like, especially when it came to knee pain, was all about my pelvis in the right position and being able to engage my glutes throughout my movements.
Exactly. And we've learned quite a bit, and we've had people go through our program with every issue. It doesn't matter what issue you have, from head to toe. When you focus on the entire body as a whole, it's actually more along the lines that you're just simply learning how your body functions, and you're getting used to, if you were to close your eyes, can you figure out where your body is in space, like what your shoulder blade is doing, what your pelvis is doing? Most people that are listening, probably even some with you guys, are not able to fully experience their body with their eyes closed without looking at it. And even if they look at it, they still can't figure out what's going on. So the program is actually just teaching you how to feel what your body's doing in every area. And that in and of itself is not just giving you confidence, but it's actually kind of getting your brain and your nerves to understand what your body is feeling.
Yeah.
Because chronic pain, called the sensitization, is where your body kind of ramps up this neural impulse to get you ready for pain. So if you've been in pain for several months, it's likely that your nerves have just been dialed up to get, they're basically just hypersensitive. And it almost sounds like you're saying, well, this is more of like a mental thing. It's all in your head, but that's not the case. It is actually a physiological response. Your body is turning up this dial and getting you almost hypersensitive to pain. So any other thing that you feel just gets ramped up. And we get people on our program, they're like, I have pain here, and they're pointing down the entire left side of their body. Like, my whole left side is completely, can I curse in this podcast?
Yeah, go ahead.
A lot of times this whole left side of the body is completely fucked. Yeah. And people talk about this they'll even have like suicidal thoughts in our program in regards to pain. And a lot of times it can just be a result of the sensitization and not having an understanding of what their body is feeling. So the program takes you through this full approach, teaches you how to get things in alignment. That's great, but it really comes down to just exploring the movements and feeling what your body's feeling.
Yeah, one
People
thing
don't
that
have
I
that.
noticed, Andrew, that, and this is a way that I kind of explain a lot of people, just movement and even, the MoveU course as well, is it's almost like our body speaks a certain language of this pain, of, these constant signals of it trying to tell us something. What you guys created with the MoveU, it's almost like a course on language of us to be able to understand the language of our body and what it's trying to say and what these feelings,
that's perfect,
sensations mean, to where when we're walking down the street and we feel a little knee pain or a back pain or shoulder pain, we know what that signal is that our body's trying to tell us. I mean, I need to, adjust my head back or my shoulders down. And like, it's just being able to understand the language of the body, to be able to understand what it's trying to say to us and what it wants us to do to get out of pain.
Exactly. Yeah, people, they tend to fear pain. When they feel it, they're like, I need to take ibuprofen, I need to get this looked at, I need to go to the emergency. And they actually make it a lot worse just with their own thoughts.
And they never try to understand it.
Exactly. If you haven't fallen down the stairs, gotten hit by a car, if your femur isn't sticking out of your leg, then you probably don't need to worry about the pain as much as you think. If there wasn't a traumatic accident that could be causing internal damage, then you probably don't need to go to the emergency room, and you don't need to be fearful of it. People wake up with a crick in their neck. I'm sure you guys have done that. You sleep wrong, air quotes. You're laying in bed, you wake up, you're like, oh my God, I can't turn my head. And it's not a big deal. People freak the hell out.
When people are in pain, I mean, they do feel like it's a big deal to them, because then all of a sudden, if you are having pain, if it's knee pain, neck pain, or back pain, it's like nothing else matters. Like, so much of your attention and focus gets pulled towards that pain. So then they can't perform well in their work. They can't perform well in their relationships. They can't be a good parent. So they can't contribute to the things that they really care about, because so much of their attention and their being is being taken from the pain. So I guess this brings us to our next thing. Like, if it's not a big deal, say we wake up and we do have a kink in our neck, or our back has been bothering us for 10, 15 years, or our knee pain is just now starting to hurt. What do we do? Like, where do we start now that we are feeling these signals?
So first off, most people focus on the area that has pain. And the people that they've had back pain for 10, 15 years, they've done the same things. They put ice or heat on their back. They're stretching their lower back, their hip flexors, getting massage in the lower back. And this cycle isn't working. And that's where we go back to getting your mind to focus on other areas of the body. So if you have pain in the neck, understanding how to do this is taking your mind, literally taking your mind away from the pain. You're having to focus on another area of the body. And then as you move down the chain, understanding how to do pelvic tilts, or even if you want to get real fancy with different thoracic movements, understanding these motions, your brain
whole sternum just pops when I did that.
So much. Exactly. So that would be thoracic glides. And when you go through the whole body and you focus on each of these individual points, it's a meditative state. You're taking your mind away from whatever thoughts you have, including the pain that you have in your neck, and putting those thoughts elsewhere. It's going to calm you down.
But combined with breathing, where elsewhere to put our focus? So say if we have pain in our neck or pain in our knee, how do we know somewhere else to put our focus or attention?
It's everywhere. You put it everywhere. Uh-oh.
What's up?
I'm getting a call. 1 sec. Stop it. You focus on everything. It's not like what do I choose? You go one piece at a time, you go through the entire body.
And that's one thing that I've been telling people a lot, is our body works as one whole living organism, so the better that our heart is pumping blood, the better that our brain is going to work. And, and the better blood flow we have from our heart to our head to our feet, the better all the different functions, from digestion, from stress management, to even just moving throughout our day is going to be affected, so the better we can align everything. So that's why I love your 6 posture checkpoints, like that's one of my favorite things of what I tell people all the time, because it's something that they can check into all the time to cover their body as a whole thing. That if they're having back pain, realizing that their head being pushed far forward is putting all that pressure right on their back, so you want to explain a little bit, because I know you can explain a little bit better with me, what is the 6 posture checkpoints and why is that important?
So the six checkpoints, there's a bunch of reasons. Now there's research that supports that posture doesn't contribute to pain, and there's research that says it does. So, it doesn't necessarily, in my opinion, watching people go through our program and utilize the points, it tells me that it's at least the awareness of what their posture is doing that matters the most. Now, the 6 checkpoints, the first one is working on reaching the top of the head, the crown of the head, straight up to the ceiling. And that's one of the best ones that you can do, because when you reach the crown of the head up to the ceiling, everything else kind of starts to line itself up without having to think about it. So it would be like your number 1 checkpoint in a sense, reaching the head up, everything else just kind of tightens up. You're lengthening the spine, feels great. The next one is having an understanding of how to scoop those shoulder blades. That's a very difficult movement for people. They cannot click it right away. I've only seen 1 or 2 people do it right off the bat. The next one is having an understanding of how to align the rib cage, the thoracic spine, over the top of the pelvis. So we talk about, I think we call it like core bracing in the program. It's more about just getting the rib cage in a neutral position over the top of a neutral pelvis. And a neutral pelvis, finding neutral comes down to taking your pelvis through full anterior, posterior tilts, and it's generally going to be the halfway point between. You're going to have, if you were to look at your pant line, you have a slight angle downward into anterior tilt. It's normal to have about 8 to 13 degrees of anterior tilt, depending on whether or not you're male or female. Females have generally a little bit more anterior tilt. The next one is having an understanding of how the glutes, just the hip muscles in general, connect with the muscles in the feet. Are you able to grab the floor and rotate the ankle outward? Can you control it? The collapse inward, rolling outward, understanding how to shorten. Can you guys see that? Is it good?
Yep. Yeah, really good.
Understanding how to shorten the arch of the foot. This is very difficult for people to do. You can see that these 2 bones come closer together. And as a result of that, the tibia will rotate outward. Combining that with the hip muscles. Turn it around, let's try that. The hip muscles, squeezing the glutes, you can see that the thighs rotate outwards. So the combination of the feet gripping, tibia rotates, hips engage, thigh rotates, and that helps to align the knees. Now with those 6 checkpoints, head, shoulders, core, pelvis, knees, feet, when you have those figured out, you got them down, you start to apply them to every movement that you do, you're going to get a lot more muscle activation throughout the body. You're going to be burning a lot more calories, and all of the joints are now kind of centered over the top of one another. So there's kind of more of an equal distribution from side to side versus having a lot of rounded posture. I think, Katie can correct me if I'm wrong, Katie Bowman's research and showing studies shows that even on like a molecular level, there's more pressure on the cells individually based on where your posture is centered. So if you're falling more forward, you can actually put more pressure on cells in certain areas that can contribute to ailments, all kinds, inflammation. I don't know,
Indigestion.
Crazy stuff. Katie Bowman's great.
Heartburn,
exactly.
Even like struggling, because if this is shut down, that's constricting, those rivers of blood flow and oxygen flow up to your brain and everything like that, right?
Exactly. So it's more than just the joints. You've got to look at the entire picture. And obviously, nutrition, mindfulness, your breathing, all of that stuff also contributes to it. It's not just movement. Movement is just a piece of the puzzle.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I remember there was a point where, like I said, every single step was excruciating pain in my knee. And then as I was getting into the, MoveU course, I started having good days and I started having bad days. And sometimes, my knee was bothering me and sometimes it was feeling really good. And then when I was out and doing something and I noticed that, okay, why is my knee starting to act up? I was starting to get frustrated of like, oh, I'm doing all this work. Why is it all of a sudden hurting today? And I would notice almost every single time that my head was just a little bit far forward and my shoulders were just, because I was getting fatigued and I was getting tired. And when this was far forward and then my glutes weren't turning on because they were getting tired, my knee was starting to hurt with every step. And then just noticing that, that pain brought me to that present moment and that mindfulness to all of a sudden bring my head up and to stack my bones and to engage my glutes when I'm walking. I kid you not, Andrew, I would go from like pain to non-pain in 3 seconds of just stacking my bones, but then when it was starting to feel pain, I knew that, hey, look, I'm getting to my limit. I need to rest. I need to get on the ground. I need to start recovering because, I don't want to push it too past where it's just causing more damage because my body's getting fatigued. But it just brought that awareness of like every time I was hitting that pain, I knew to go through those 6 posture checkpoints. And 9 times out of 10, unless I was just too fatigued, 9 times out of 10, if I just checked and put all my posture checkpoints on point, my pain would just at least diminish dramatically so I could finish whatever that I was doing.
No, that's great. I think I just want to add one thing for the listeners that like when you said you didn't want to continue creating damage in the knee, just keep in mind that you were walking. Like walking isn't going to damage the tissue. The tissue itself is pretty okay. Like walking is not a serious thing that you should be concerned about if you are having pain. There's just simple movements of the body. So when people are like going through our program, say they're doing some movements and they feel some pain and they feel some increase in pain, it's like, guys, all you were doing was tilting your pelvis. It's like, just keep that in mind, that it's such a basic movement and there's so little force going on there that you're not going to cause pain. Like if you were to actually trip and fall, you can cause some tissue damage.
So you wouldn't say that so if they are walking, but just in really bad form or bad posture, like on the wrong side of their foot or their glutes not engaged or their head far forward, that doesn't cause any damage, or what do you think?
It's not going to cause damage. And that's where we come back to that sensitization. They've experienced some sort of pain or injury, and now their brain is hyper focused on whatever's going on in the area. The nerves actually create more neural networks around the area. So if there's any sort of little issue or movement that
okay, that makes sense.
Their body takes that signal and it goes to the brain, and their brain's like, whoa, this is getting worse. This is, I'm causing damage. And that's not the case. Like if you were playing soccer and someone just tackled you, you may have just experienced damage, torn your ACL, whatever it is. Like that's where tissue damage can come into play, and that's where the pain signal is like, you just ruptured some tissue. You're gonna be sidelined for a little bit, and that's a normal response. When it's lasting more than 3 to 6 months, at that point, it's very much a neurological issue, like I was just talking about.
So what about the people who never had that, like getting tackled on the soccer field or any like car accident, but they're 35, 40 and they are getting pain in their knees, their back?
Totally. So there can be, we talk about the again, there's no wrong way to move, first of all. But when you are picking something up over and over and over the same way, and say you have been rounded like this forever, and you go to pick something up, and you round your back, and you're always doing this, and you're getting something heavier and heavier, and eventually there's like this straw that breaks the camel's back kind of experience where, yes, maybe you have a disc rupture. And that's essentially what happened to me. I blame my coughing, me sitting there in bed, coughing super hard, that popped the disc out, shifted it out. And then later, I was helping move my mom's fridge. And the next morning, I had severe sciatica. So those 2 incidents are like, that's why I injured my disc.
But those are
It's
just the final
actually,
straws, right?
what's that?
I
Yeah,
said, but those are just the two final straws, right?
exactly. And what I wasn't really aware of is that I had no idea how I was moving when I was doing my exercises. I was just moving from point A to point B. I would go pick up a barbell, pick up dumbbells, and just get them from the ground to here, and I'd do my bicep curls, and I could barely deadlift anything and squat. And the result was a weakening in the tissue. Now, when I say you shouldn't be worried about walking down the street, I would say that that's the case when you are already investing yourself in exploring your body. You're already becoming aware of the different checkpoints in your body, and you're getting used to improving your movements throughout the day. That's a point where if you are experiencing some pain, it's okay. You're doing something about it. You're becoming more aware of the different points of your body. But when you haven't put any focus into your body at all, you're not changing your nutrition, you're not sleeping well, so on and so forth, then you're going to cause some prolonged kind of trauma over time that can cause those disc herniations and shoulder injuries and whatever.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, a lot. I'm actually learning a lot through this conversation as well. It's awesome. So like for somebody with pain, other than, the 6 posture checkpoints and gaining some awareness, what are some other, I guess, some success strategies that people can use to just start feeling better and getting out of the pain that they might have, a bulged disc, a knee pain, foot pain, something?
Well, first of all, it's going to be the mindfulness aspect. I think that you're a huge proponent of Wim Hof.
Yeah.
I believe. Yeah.
Yeah.
So going into the breath and becoming more present with your body and how it feels is one of the first things that you can do. And that's I'm actually reading. That's one of the few books that I'm reading now is his Iceman. I forget what it's called. The Way of the Iceman.
Oh,
and
yeah. Is that his new book?
I don't think it's new. I think it's
so it's the
a
older
few years
one.
old.
Yeah.
And that just going into the meditation is a great way to just ease things.
Yeah.
Chances are you're hyper focused on the pain area and you have a lot of stressors in your life and you're not paying attention to your body. The whole thing, not just the pain area, but the whole thing. That's a great start. And there's a ton of free shit on that.
And what I like to do that, I've learned a lot from, I wanted to point out that one of the most interesting, cool things that I noticed about the MoveU course was, I think in, the very first part of it, it's teaching you kind of how to breathe, It's showing you how to breathe through your stomach. It's showing you that core bracing, and it just shows really how important that is. And I thought that was super, super cool.
Yeah. And that's all of that stuff is meditative. You're taking your mind off of everything that's going on in your world and off your pain, and you're focusing on the area that you're working on. So if we're saying, can you lift your individual toes up? Can you spread your toes apart? Can you lift your arch? All that stuff. You're putting all that brain power into the foot.
Yeah.
You can't think about anything else at that point.
Yeah,
and that's meditative in and of itself.
Exactly. It's almost funny how just the practice of presence seems to be the answer to so much of it.
Pretty much most things.
Yeah. When I first started, my feet were all crunched up like this from my clip shoe of riding and just all the squats and injuries. And then when I started learning from you guys, I remember just laying down and just putting my mind towards my feet and just trying to move my pinky away, or my pinky toe away from my a big toe. And it took me months of just laying there every day to be able to start wiggling my toes and then opening them up. But that's the meditation practice of just bringing your mind towards what is going on inside your body. And
100%.
One thing that I like to do, because I know a lot of people follow me based on my routines and how I kind of create my days, and I like to spend 30 minutes in the morning just connecting with my breath and connecting with my body in a way that's getting that blood and oxygen moving, so things are turning on. So, so I'll spend a few moments turning on, the muscles that I know tend to stay unactivated, like my glutes or my back, or, something inside my hips, or getting that movement in. And, I like to just set a timer for 30 minutes and just sit on the mat and just listen to my body, put my, it's like this meditation practice, but it's involved with movement and breath, and connecting my breath and my movement. And in the same way, how you mentioned that we have these repetitive movements that we do all day, I like to do another 30 minutes at night. Sometimes I don't always get the 30 minutes because, my day, my work runs late, but even if it's just 10 minutes or 15 minutes to get myself on the ground and to start, just taking care of the muscles that have been working hard all day, just to release that day's tension and to connect my breath and, foam roll or stretch those tight muscles. And then, it makes a big difference in how I felt the next morning to be able to, release the tension of the day of the night before. But
100%.
yeah, man.
Oh, that's great, man.
So Andrew, I've got a question. I can't be quiet any longer because
get in there, Edwin.
I'm afraid you're going to somehow get rid of the pharmacy profession with this course. So I need to speak up now and add value. Andrew, I guess I love transformation stories, and what you're talking about here is a program that helps people transform and move from one level to another.
Yes.
And in doing so, there's a mindset issue that must be overcome in order for the program to fully add value to the people in need. How do you guys help people overcome belief that is going to drive a behavior that's going to result in a new outcome? That's a huge shift in transformation in itself.
So part of it is obviously the education of what's going on physiologically, and then just getting people to focus on the movement. The other thing that I think is probably more important that I haven't talked about at all is the community aspect. Having people with you that are going through the journey, and also having people that have gone through the journey already that are there to support you. So when we started the program, we created a community, and that community is probably one of the more important aspects. I don't know if Will really took much part in the community. He was one of the first people that came into our program.
A little bit.
At this point, there's about 6 groups of, about 1,000, 1,500 people each group. And we have coaches that coach people on it, on the movements. They post videos, they get feedback on their movements and all that. But a lot of times it's, hey guys, I woke up today, I feel like shit. Does anyone else feel this way? And then you have 30 people comment and be like, yeah, this is how I felt. These are the things I've done. You're going to be okay, so on and so forth. Just getting people to realize that they're not alone in the process. And I think that's one of the more important aspects of getting people to realize that it's not necessarily a big deal. And when you have people that they've had 10, 15 years of pain, they're like, yeah, I'm completely out of pain. Doesn't bother me. I have complete confidence. Nothing will ever hurt me again. In terms of, it's more like pain is never going to go away. Pain is important. It's a signal that tells you that something's wrong and you want to feel pain. The people that don't feel pain, I forget the neurological disorder that it is, but they generally die at a young age. And that tells you that pain's important. It keeps you alive. So you don't want to get rid of pain. It's more that you want to get rid of your notion of what it is and how it actually affects you, and kind of building your resiliency to that pain. That's ultimately what we do.
Yeah, I remember, like, for me, it felt like an imprisonment, of just like, this pain just put me behind bars to, like, I felt like I was in prison. Everything I wanted to do, I couldn't do because I was stuck in my house. And if I moved around my house, it hurt, and it's, I'm so glad that Edwin jumped in there and asked that question, because it's such a perfect question. I think that community is so important. Like, luckily for me, my community was, I live in a house stuck with all professional athletes, so they're always like telling me, and, they're watching me do the MoveU, and they're learning from the MoveU, and they're, helping me with my movement as well, to like, hey, I can tell your glutes aren't tight, or I can tell, like your shoulders aren't
that's cool.
That full range of motion that, it helps a lot. But another thing I thought was really cool is in your guys's program or course, you actually have a fix yo mindset where old Mike is on there talking, which I think is really powerful too, but I think like pain is a very powerful motivator. And I believe that, that's a huge reason for us having pain, exactly of what you're saying, Edwin asking, like, how do people get ready to make this transformational, journey, I guess, is like, a lot of times if you're in pain, like, that's your motivation, like, that's your power of, like, but in realizing that, hey, you are in control of this, that, like, what you can do can, determine on how much pain you do have, instead of just kind of relinquishing that responsibility or that power to the medical industry, which hasn't really been too successful in actually healing people or fixing people, but instead just kind of getting them into their web of, helping their symptoms for today.
Well, I think that's the big issue, that I think Andrew is instigating a transformation in a perspective of who we need to think about when we are experiencing pain. It is not the over-the-counter medicine cabinet or the aisle at Walmart. We need to think differently. And that's a shift in perspective that has to start from belief. And I think the MoveU program has created a community of leaders that are going out there and helping shift perspectives, which has to be the start of this transformation in healthcare, in people's lives, in pain and suffering. Andrew, y'all are onto something massive, and I'm just so thrilled to be able to be part of that message, getting that message out, because it's transformational in what it can do in the lives of people. So
thank you, Edwin.
Thank y'all for what you do. It matters. And I'm a pharmacist. I'm the only pharmacist you'll run into that doesn't choose medicine first. It can be there, but it is 100%. Not the answer. It's never the answer.
Yeah, there's a time and a place for all of that, for surgery, for current medical trends. And I think that a lot of people just get treated with that right off the bat.
Yeah. Instead of exploring like the other options and possibilities, like when we go and we have any sort of pain and we go to a doctor, they don't talk about how you're moving. They don't talk about how you're eating or how you're sleeping or how you're doing anything like that. They just give you a quick fix, and I remember, because Edwin has been helping me create my own program and my own courses of education of the stuff that I know to hopefully help other people. And he was asking me, and I was saying like, look, man, this MoveU program, it's the best shit since bee's knees. You know what I mean? Like, and he asked like, why do you feel like this one is so good? And I said, because it freaking works. You know what I mean? Like, it's truly helping other people. And that's what's building that community of like somebody like me. Like, I don't get paid to tell anybody about MoveU, but then I've told every single person that I care about, and even people that I don't know, every time they mention something about, oh, my shoulder pain or my back pain, I'm just like, dude, if you really want to fix your shit, if you're real serious about getting out of pain, I'm not selling anything, just you go there. And that's what has helped me, and I feel like that's what makes it so great. And everything that you're doing it is a shift. And I think the more people that learn from you and that succeed and realize that there is another way to get out of pain, and that it's really within ourselves and our own focus of attention more than just relying on somebody else to fix it for us.
Appreciate that, man. That's amazing.
Yeah,
thank you.
Well, I guess the next thing is, before I like to do anything, I found a really good practice of just knowing my purpose and knowing my why. It makes it feel like it's more likely to happen and more connected to the actual doing. And, I'm curious of what keeps you motivated, of what is your purpose and why of, because I know that going and doing all this work and creating this course and creating all this content that helps people, it's not easy. You know what I mean? Like, it's not easy in any way. Like, what keeps you motivated to get up and to keep serving and keep creating things that are truly helping people?
I think for me, I know that there's a lot of growth potential in the process of just building the business and learning about myself, about other people, about leadership. So that in and of itself keeps me excited to keep pushing forward. On top of that is actually just giving people the power to take ownership in their life, not just with their body, but after they've taken this process and applied it to their body. People leave their jobs, they leave their broken relationships, their whatever country they're in that's not doing well. People just leave it. We've had so many stories of people changing other areas of their lives after going through the program. It's not just a body thing. It's just getting you to understand the process required to make a lasting change and applying that to other areas of your life.
Yeah,
so that's ultimately what I do.
And that touches a lot on, it's like, it's amazing that when you get somebody out of pain, how much more they're capable of, and how much more their potential raises of just as a human being of being able to stand up for themselves. You know, I mention all the time, it kind of reminds me of, you know, the first time I ever flew an airplane. You know, it kind of blew my mind when the stewardess said, put your own mask on before you even put on your kids, you know. And that just brings it back to the same topic of like, look, if you really want to make big changes in your life and succeed, a lot of times you have to stop and put that mindfulness and attention on what your pains are. And just to get yourself out of pain allows you so much more room to grow as a being.
Oh, totally. I mean, if you're a parent and you're trying to take care of your kids and you're in a ton of pain, you're not taking care of yourself, then you're not going to be the best parent.
Yep.
So improving yourself, first and foremost, you're going to be a much better parent before you even focus on the kids. So,
you know, and I've been working a lot with a lot more kids lately. And one thing that I've learned is they learn so much more by watching what you're doing than anything that you could possibly say.
It's terrifying.
You know, so yeah. So it's like, instead of telling your kids not to smoke or not to do this or not to do that, instead you just lead by example and you be your best self. And then that's what's going to have them wanting to be their best selves by you going out and taking care of your health and accomplishing your dreams and managing your own stress and managing your own being is what's really going to teach, you know, the next generation and our kids to be their best selves by us just simply being our best self.
Totally. 100%.
So the next question I got.
Will, I got one more. I can't help.
No, shoot, jump in there.
So, Andrew, you and Mike have been visionaries along with the whole MoveU crew in creating this movement, but it's not going to stop here. What are you guys looking at long term as far as your impact and influence in shaping people's perspectives moving forward?
Sure. Yeah. Just so everyone knows, there's about 20 people on our staff, so it's not just Mike and I. We need a whole crew to make this thing work. In the future, we are working on a coach's certification. So getting other people to be able to take our method and apply it to other people. I don't know if I want to divulge too much information about that in regards to how it's going to integrate with our stuff. We have a lot of really cool ideas, and it could definitely transform the industry of coaching out there, actually, significantly. So, but we are also working on an app. So we have a few things in the pipeline, and we're looking to actually get that thing fully going in the next month here, the app. So that is a wild process, creating one of those.
I can only imagine.
You know, one of the coolest things that I noticed about what you guys have created is it seemed like a huge section of your guys' employees seem like they're actually devoted to that community to answer the questions and to make sure that people are successful. So it's not like you guys are saying, hey, look, here's my program, buy it, and then we're not going to talk to you again. But it seems like, you know, correct me if I'm wrong, but a huge amount of your guys' staff is devoted towards just sitting online on the Facebook, on the groups, answering the questions. Because it's like every time that I did jump in on those groups, I got 5 replies in less than an hour of and I'm somebody who's been practicing movement and athletics since I was 10 years old, you know, so almost 20 years now. And just by simply posting a video of me doing a cat-cow or a pelvic tilt, I had 5 people jump on to make me put my focus, to make me realize stuff that I never realized within my own body of just something so simple. And I think that's another thing of what makes you guys so successful and what makes people successful within what you created too, which I think is amazing.
Yeah, man, about 33% of our staff is coaching staff of some capacity.
That's pretty awesome. What I'm curious, because my question that I was going to ask was actually the question that Edwin asked, so that worked out perfectly. But what are you currently learning now?
I actually just looked at I'm reading a book called Relentless by Tim Grover, The Way of the Iceman by Wim Hof, How to Think Like a Roman Emperor by Donald Robertson.
Please send me a list of these books that you're reading, because I just finished the new book today and I need another one.
And then Rich Dad Advisors. I don't know if you know Rich Dad Poor Dad, the book. Rich Dad Advisors, Tax-Free Wealth, and The Hard Thing About Hard Things. So I'm kind of just cycle through a few things. I think it was Joe Rogan. There was this really fancy, smart guy on there, and he's like, I don't read just one book because I get bored. I go through many of them. And I don't know, I've tried that approach, and it seems to help me a little bit.
Yeah,
I focus on one, I stop reading it.
Yeah, I like to have like a book for the morning, a book for midday, a book for the evening. You know, I'm usually in 2 or 3 books at once myself, because it's like I want a book for different things. You know, I want one to learn something about maybe business, and one to learn something about, you know, my spirituality, or one to learn something about just anything else. So I think that's pretty cool.
And I think the book, what's it called? Relentless by Tim Grover. That one's, it's pretty intense. It kind of gets you to really think about the process of becoming great. So he talks a lot about Kobe Bryant and all the other really big athletes out there that he's coached, and just the process required to get them to that top level. It's not that they're special by any means. It just comes down to their mindset and their work ethic. And that's, if you want to achieve anything, you've got to have that.
My next book for me.
Yeah.
All right, so just finishing up, you know, I want to end with one question. So Andrew, I want you to kind of picture yourself at the end of your life, you know, so, you know, if that's 80, 90, 120, 130 years old, towards the end of it, and you got everyone gathered around at your funeral because you're gone, you know, what do you want to have accomplished at that time? Or what do you want, you know, the closest people to you to say about you? Or how do you hope it all ends up by the end of this show?
That's a deep one.
Yeah.
My goodness. I'd love to be recognized as someone who just contributed to a new movement. I know there's a lot of people involved in this movement, but just really being one of those people that they say kind of started to lead this process of getting away from the surgeries and just the quick fixes in general, just getting people to recognize that they have the power to make the change, and they don't need to go to someone else to make those changes. As of right now, where I am, like with my thoughts, my knowledge of what I'm doing, that's kind of what I see. Obviously, as the years go on, I'm 29 years old. So as things progress, who knows what that might look like.
Yeah, I love that answer, dude. I really appreciate it. And I really appreciate you just jumping on this, man. Like, you know, I'm so thankful to have somebody who's been, you know, truly instrumental in helping me in my life to like be able to join on in a conversation and to hopefully help my audience as well. And dude, thank you so much. Where can people learn more or find you?
So MoveU, at MoveU on social media, Instagram, I think Facebook, I don't know, Facebook sucks. MoveU.com, that's our website and where our program is. And then my personal handle is MoveU Shirtless Dude. Just so you guys know, the shirt thing, when we first started making social media content, I had a shirt on. If I took the shirt off for something, our views went up exponentially.
I noticed
the shirt on
my page.
They go down. Take shirt off, goes up. So I just kept it off, and that just became part of it.
You know, it's funny because I literally noticed the exact same thing on my page. But you know, it does, like, even coming from somebody who doesn't get much out of watching another man and his shirt off, but it really does help to see your movement. And you know, I think you having, you know, that condition of being able to get very flexible, it's almost like you're in the perfect position to do the job that you were meant to be doing, where like being able to really see how your shoulders work and how your pelvic moves and how your feet engage has helped me to realize, like, oh wow, that's what it's supposed to look like. You know what I mean? Like
it's almost like an exaggerated movement.
Yeah.
Like mine's very exaggerated. Most people aren't going to be able to do that, but it helps people see it. To see how big the movement is, it helps them apply it. Yeah. But no, most people aren't going to be like that. That's fine.
100%. Like, that's super cool, man. Well, thanks so much again. Do you have any thing you want to end with, or any last words?
No, I just really appreciate you being such an advocate. It's almost kind of cult-like.
Yeah.
which is good. You can definitely put a negative connotation to cults, and at the same time, I think we're helping a lot of people, and
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it's amazing. So I appreciate you. And Edwin, thank you for taking the time to do this. It's amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm a huge fan of both of you. I believe in influence, and in my world, leadership is influence. And if there's a way to help people transform out of pain and into freedom, if there is a way to transform a broken healthcare system or a broken fitness industry, this is how it starts. So I have mad respect for the messages that both of you gentlemen, Will and Andrew, Mike, and the whole MoveU team, it is applied knowledge is power.
For sure.
This is it.
And I'm just an advocate of the things that, has really helped me, and that's my goal with really all the content that I create for the most part, is just to be pushing myself to become my best version and just share with the world of the things that have truly helped me, and that is the Wim Hof breathing, and that is learning movement from MoveU, to where it's like, I'm so passionate about that stuff where it feels like a cult-like, because it's like, to go from how much pain that I was in and how scared and confused I was to like feeling that freedom. It's like, I want to share that, I want to share that with everybody I care about, from everybody that I know to even, people around the world who I may never meet. Like, I just want to help bring us up as a species, as a planet, and as individuals. And, thanks again for everything, Andrew. I really appreciate it.
Of course. I think we do have a code or something that we can give your followers.
Yeah.
Discount.
Yeah.
Do we have it, Katie?
Working on it right now.
Let's call it. I was going to try to combine your names together, and it just got weird.
Yeah.
What is this? I'm sorry. What is this podcast called?
Chat with Will Grant.
That's too long.
Yeah. Yeah, just make something simple. Maybe if we have a comment in the comments, if someone wants to throw in a comment, give something. But yeah, it'd be cool to be able to offer anyone who's listening and anyone who's going to watch this in the future to
disrupt comfort. Can you believe Austin said the most beautiful one? Disrupt comfort.
There we go.
Yeah,
disrupt comfort. One word.
Love it.
So they can go to MoveU and use the discount code Disrupt Comfort, and they get a little discount, or how's that work?
Yeah, MoveU.com. When they go to purchase the program, it'll take you to another web page, and in the coupon code, they can use the word Disrupt Comfort. I don't think it's active yet. They're chatting about it right now, so give it a day or so.
Fabulous. That is very generous. Thank you guys so much.
And I will put the link in the description below for all the people who are watching this later on YouTube and on other platforms. I will put all the different codes and links to MoveU, Andrew, and even that discount code if you're interested in getting into that program, which, if you have any pain, of course, I highly recommend it. Get in there, make some change, and yeah. Thanks, and I will see you guys soon.
Hey, Andrew, I'm going to test out your theory. I'm going to put your shirtless picture on my Instagram page and see if my views.
Perfect. Yeah, that'll work.
Okay. Thanks, Andrew. Thanks, Katie. Thanks, everybody. Happy birthday, Will.
Thank you.